My name is Mike Saltzman. I'm going to be doing a review for the Hyperkin GN6 6-button Genesis controller. Okay, so if you're a retro gamer out there and you love, say, the Genesis, my favorite's Nintendo. I like the Super Nintendo, a lot of Nintendo systems, but if you like the Genesis, well, you're in a pickle, because most of the controllers you find out there today, like the 3-button Sega controller, the buttons start to break on them. Now, you can just go ahead and clean those. If you take it apart and clean those, usually they'll work. But even if you get something like this to work, you're really going to want the 6-button controller. Now, the 6-button controller, made by Sega, is a little harder to find lately. It's also a little more expensive. Usually you'll pay about $20 these days for a good condition 6-button controller. Well, not anymore, because Hyperkin came out with this guy, a 6-button replica, basically, of the actual Sega Genesis 6-button controller. This is called the GN6, made by Hyperkin. Comes in a fancy package like this. And I will say, when we first got these in to my store, we couldn't really tell the difference between this and an actual 6-button Genesis controller. Compare that to, say, this guy made by Retrobit, and there's another one like it. It's made by, I think it's made by Tomia. And when you look at this one, let me just pull it out real quick. You'll see, like, the buttons, you can see they shudder around. It just doesn't feel good. And when you try using this guy, a lot of times it won't be matched, the controls won't be mapped right, and just these things break really easily. Now, granted, this is a $7 controller, so you kind of expect it to be junky, but what if you want a good condition controller, a 6-button controller specifically, because that's the one you're gonna want, because it has all the buttons. Well, you have to find a 6-button Genesis, like original Sega controller. Well, again, not anymore. So how does this thing actually work? It works great. Not being paid by Hyperkin, I promise. I talked to Hyperkin directly, and what they told me is they basically bought the schematics for the original controller. They're using the exact same schematics, which is why you can't tell the difference between this controller and the actual 6-button made by Sega, except for that this one says Hyperkin on it, and the second one says Sega on it. You can find these almost anywhere for about $10 to $15. They have an MSRP actually of $9.99. 6-button controllers are way better than 3-button. There's a lot of games that need 6 buttons, and also just in general, it kind of fits better in your hand. So as far as, is this thing worth your time and worth your money? It absolutely is. Most aftermarket controllers are like this, junky. The buttons don't feel solid. It's not well constructed. The GN6 made by Hyperkin, Genesis controller, totally worth your money. If you're looking for a 6-button controller, I can solidly recommend this guy. So go ahead and pick yourself up 1 or 2 or more of these guys. Thanks, my name is Mike, and that's my review of the GN6 Hyperkin 6-button Genesis controller.